So this is a segment on the top 10 riskiest cosmetic surgeries.
Okay.
Now, we've talked about risky surgeries in the past, so we're not just rehashing the same segment we've already done before. Because the reason I pulled this one is, when I'm doing my research, for segments, I saw a couple articles that were referencing this study. I'm going to put study in parentheses. And let me throw up that next slides. So the Rod Ryan show was talking about 10 riskiest plastic surgeries, and that's New York Post at the top, talking about most dangerous cosmetic surgeries revealed. And so I followed these back to the study that they were quoting, and I didn't really feel like it was a very legitimate study. Like, it wasn't like a study that would show up in like a medical journal. It was, I think, some media people that were just digging through some random data to try and figure out, like,
trying to scare people.
Yeah, I mean,
Trying to,
just to gin up a story,
Yeah.
And so, because when I was reading these, I was like, some of these are just unbelievable. So I thought we'd go through them, and I'll tell you what they said, and I'll tell you what I thought about them. So it starts out with the not the least, but the most risk. Starts out with number one, most risky. I didn't even know this was a thing. Like, I mean, it's funny when you're doing this and you find something, you're like, wait, this is a real thing? So the number one was eye color change surgery. Have you guys even heard of this?
No.
Eye color change? No, I'm not.
I had never heard of this. This is like totally new to me. Now, of course, to be fair, this is not performed by plastic surgeons. This is performed by ophthalmologists.
Right.
So, I mean, is it I guess you would consider it a cosmetic surgery. It's not a plastic surgery. So, yeah, so this is called keratopigmentation. It costs about $12,000, and it's laser pigment removal and then repigmenting of the iris. And I got a picture I pulled off the internet. That person, I guess I should have pulled the other one. That person had brown eyes to start with.
Oh, wow.
And so that's the after.
That's a big jump.
Dude, it's crazy, man.
Yeah,
it almost looks a little unnatural to me.
Yeah, she looks like she's like from Twilight.
From Twilight. What color would you get if you were going to change your eye color?
Aye.
What would you get?
I don't know, like green.
You get green, Travis?
She stole my answer.
Oh, you get green too?
And I couldn't think of one. Okay, like a light brown.
Light brown? You know what I would get?
Light
And I
brown.
used to have contacts like this, and I wore them all the time. I would get like a really like bright gold.
You wear gold contacts?
I did. I had gold contacts for a long time.
Why?
Yeah, dude.
You gotta find some pictures of bright gold eye color, Dr. Herman.
I mean, I don't know. I probably could. Okay, so like the ones I had
Where are you going wearing those?
I wore them everywhere, man. I wore them for years. I loved them. They were really kind of wild looking. But
yeah, exactly.
But it wasn't like okay. All right, let me back
on
up.
fentanyl with gold eyes.
It wasn't like crazy gold. Like it was,
Okay.
but it was gold. Like it was.
Was it like honey?
Yeah, it was probably like honey. Yeah.
Like so light brown.
But
then?
like no. Like when you looked at them, you were like, "Whoa, what's up with your eyes?" Like
Yeah, are you on drugs?
yeah, and then so the company quit making them, and I was like super bummed. Like I wore them for like years. I loved them. They were awesome. Like they really kind of matched my like hair, like when I was.
So they were. Wait, Twilight people had those contacts.
Yeah. Well, these were prescription though, because I wear contacts.
Yeah.
For
The Twilight people, their eyes were like really, really light, light brown.
I used to wear like all
I
kinds
guess
of colors.
Those blue ones that you showed me are
Yeah,
more like.
I used to wear all kinds of colors, but I liked the gold the best. They were super sick.
My friend in high school had like blue eye color contacts, but they were like almost like turquoise, like the color you think of when you think of like a blue lagoon.
Mm-hmm.
That's
I had some blue too. Yeah. We totally
was
derailed
crazy.
ourselves. All right, let's I'll see if I can find a picture. It's so hard though with your eye. It had to be really close to see it. All right. So, getting back to this study. So this study claims that there is a 92% complication rate with keratopigmentation.
and you can go blind.
Well, okay, so talking about, and we should probably do a whole segment on this. I don't want to ruin it because I
Or
think
like
this,
you come out with just like black eyes.
I mean,
like it's just black.
that'd be pretty wild.
No, sir.
There are some real risks to this, like vision loss, blindness, glaucoma, uveitis, corneal abrasions. I mean, there are real risks with this keratopigmentation. But that being said, like if it's done by a skilled ophthalmologist here in the United States, at least on my brief research dig, it sounds pretty safe.
Yeah.
I personally wouldn't do it because it's messing with your eyeballs, and if something goes wrong with your eyeball and you go blind, that's obviously.
So it's more dangerous than getting LASIK.
Well, that's a great question. I mean, because LASIK, is.
They kind of that's a surgery. They open up your eyeball and do.
We'll do a segment
around.
on this. We'll definitely do a segment on this. But this 92% complication rate that this article is saying is totally bogus. Unless you're going to backwater, country, and you're having this done in the back of a van. Well, I don't know about Florida. I found one guy that does apparently a lot of these in Beverly Hills.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I may reach out to him and see if he wants to talk about it. Anyway, so cryopigmentation was number one, but the 92% complication rate is insane. There's no way a surgery would exist if it had a 92% complication rate. That's just insane. All right, number two, thigh lift, okay? I was like, thigh lift, I do thigh lifts. 78% complication rate? I was like, WTF, there's no way. Who was doing them? Was it somebody that went blind from the pigmentation surgery that was doing the thigh lifts? 78%?
What exactly is a thigh lift?
What do you do?
Oh, thigh lifts? Oh, we've never talked about these?
No.
Yeah. So when people lose a lot of weight, so people that are, taking Ozempic or people that get weight loss surgery and they have loose skin, one of the places that some people will collect fat is in the inner thighs, and then when they lose a lot of that weight, they just have rolls of skin that they are self-conscious about. They don't want to wear shorts or whatever. And so there's two different methods for doing thigh lifts. The kind of simpler way is to make the incision right up in the crease of the groin. You dissect down, you pull the skin tight, and then you close it. And it's good for helping the upper 1/3 of the thigh. But for people who really have a lot of weight loss, you have to do what's called an extended thigh lift, where you make the incision all the way down the length of the thigh. And you can take up a ton of skin that way, but then you have a scar that's a little bit more noticeable. But I'm going to tell you, this complication rate ain't nowhere near 78%. That's literally insane. I mean,
what are they saying the complications are, though?
It didn't go into a lot of specifics. That's why this study is kind of questionable. They mentioned specifically sensation, which, I mean, to me, that's not. I mean, it is a complication, but it's not. I mean, anytime you have an incision anywhere on your body, you can have numbness. But to me, that's not really a complication. It's kind of like a side effect of the surgery. Because nothing was done incorrectly. It's just if you make
incision. Normal.
Yeah, it's normal. It's expected almost.
I've had that every time I've gotten any type of surgery.
Yeah, it's very, very common. But 78% complication rate, that's crazy. All right, number three, which to me should have been number one, is
a BBL.
BBL, Brazilian butt lift. So they claimed a 38% complication rate, which is lower than some of these other ones that we're going to talk about, but they put it number three on the list because the complications are so much more severe, like death, So they put that one at number three. In my opinion, that one should have been number one. We talked about it a million times. Number four, full body lift, 42%. So full body lift basically is when you do tummy tuck and you lift the skin around the back. So I call it like a belt lipectomy.
Never heard of it.
I don't do them. To me, they're too risky. 42% to me is actually, I wouldn't, that sounds a little high, but maybe not. I mean, because these surgeries carry a lot of risks of mostly healing problems and fluid collections, hematomas. I personally won't do them. If somebody wants a full body lift and they want me to do it, you do one surgery, you recover, you come back and you do the other half.
Yeah, so what type of person usually gets that? What type of body?
It's people who've lost a lot of weight.
Okay.
Your average mom who had a couple kids ain't gonna need a full body lift. It's gonna be somebody who's lost 100 pounds and they're just skin sagging everywhere. And I'll do them, but I break them apart. I won't do them together because I think the risks are very high. All right, number five, got two WTF? Yeah.
You're like WWJD?
WTS. Injectable fillers, 65% complication rate? What? That is crazy.
Fillers?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where they got that. I mean, I've been doing fillers for 15 years, and I mean, I'm not sure I've ever had a complication from them that I can remember honestly. I mean, if you know what you're doing, fillers are not rocket science. I mean, there is some artistry to it to make it look good, but...
You only usually put fillers in your face, right?
Mostly, yeah. I mean, you can do them in your hands. When you get old lady hands, you can do fillers. I mean, there's other things to do, but for the most part, yes, you're right. But 65% complication rate, that is literally insane. They were talking
I know right now, since so many people are getting fillers, that they're talking about, we've talked about this before when people overdo it and they have that pillow face thing.
Oh, it's terrible. I hate fillers when they're overdone. But if you do fillers right, Like they can be amazing.
And how many times should you be getting, like you should only be getting fillers how many times?
Once every year or two?
If that, right? Like once a year, you think?
I mean, I'm not telling you need to get fillers at all, but like if you want to keep the look the same, you know, the time frame for most fillers are 12 to 15 months.
Okay.
Now, I think people break them down a little bit slower than that. But then there's some people out there, like I've done fillers on a couple people and they come back like 6 months, 9 months later, and it's like they're almost back to normal. There's a variability in how quick people break them down.
Yeah.
But like a 65% complication rate, that's just totally bogus. Bogus.
Oh.
Okay, number 6, breast reduction surgery, 38% risk of complication. I mean, that's going to get at least one WTF for me. That's crazy. I've done somewhere between 500 and 1,000 breast reductions.
I would think most people would be very happy because it's like...
Oh, it's like literally one of the absolute highest satisfaction rates.
I'm like a dude made this.
I don't
this
know.
list.
I know, right? Somebody just doesn't like people getting plastic surgery. 38% is way, way high. Now, my one but is, if the surgeon uses that old school method, I know we've talked about it, but just really, really briefly, like there's 2 different incision techniques with this. Mm-hmm. I always do a short scar, which basically is kind of like a lollipop. It's a little bit different. It's like a curved lollipop, but you know, it's
I
like,
remember the pictures.
Yeah. And then the anchor is the other one where it's like the lollipop with the big line at the bottom. Mm-hmm. That one, what's called the Weiser anchor pattern, is very prone to healing problems. Very, very prone. And I've had friends who are plastic surgeons that they were only trained to do that, and they quit doing breast reductions because they were having so many complications.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, maybe like a surgeon that's not really great at doing breast reductions is doing the old school way may have 38% risk, but that is, like in my practice, I mean, it's single digits for sure for complications, you know, which, you know, all surgeries should be roughly that. So yeah, that one was way high for me. All right, number 7, butt implants. Butt implants are basically not done anymore because of BBLs. They said 22% risk. This one's really believable. Butt implants, so like, you know, like breast implants, but for your butt, have a huge risk. Like the implants get out of position.
Around, yeah.
Well, yeah, it's because you're sitting on them. You know, like the pressure. Well, yeah, it's real. Like in the healing process, and then even afterwards, like sitting on those things.
Have
really...
you seen those like butt things that they put in like the pants, like for
your pants? No.
Yeah, like for the girls that are like modeling.
It should be like inflatable
workout
like,
leggings. You know what I'm talking about? Like the girls wearing
no,
like the leggings.
I can imagine
for working out.
Yeah.
And like they put fake butt pads in their butt
It's
to
like
make
a lifter or something like that.
Yeah, it's kind of funny.
Yeah, I can totally believe it.
It's
false advertising.
Yeah.
It's like stuff in your bra, right?
It is. They're like these leggings make your butt look like this good.
Hey man, I'm not going to dog people. If you want to like, you know, do that, go for it. I'm the last person that's going to judge you. All right, number 8, breast augmentation, 14% risk of complication. That's actually pretty realistic, although for people who do lots of augmentations, it should be lower. The biggest risk, as we talked about the augmentation, is contracture, which is scarring around the implant. If you look at all surgeons across the United States, that's a 10% risk. People who do lots of these augs, like in my practice, our risk is like 3%. So, you know, like across the board, 14% risk of breast augmentation, that's probably believable. Number 9 is arm lift, 21% risk of complication. I do lots of arm lifts. That's way, way high. If you're getting 21% risk, if you're getting 21% of your patients having a complication from arm lift, then you're doing something wrong. I recently had a girl I did one on that had like a really kind of weird nerve thing. It's actually the first time I've ever had anyone have that, although it's the stated risk of the surgery. I think it's going to go away, but I mean, so that would be something I'd be like, okay, that was a complication.
Yeah. I remember whenever I broke my arm when I was a kid, like my whole forearm was numb after the surgery.
Right, because the bone like either torques the nerve or can you know, bang it up. Yeah, that happens all the time. With fractures, it's very common.
Yeah.
Number 10 was breast lift, 10% risk. That's kind of believable. It should be lower than that, especially if you do lots of breast lifts, but 10%. But yeah, those were kind of wild. Like those numbers were just way off. Like I don't know what they were considering complications or. And the study was just like, it wasn't even one I could really like like I couldn't get it was just like released information. It wasn't like a study method,
Yeah.
like I'm used to looking at.
Right.
So
It was just an article, like a.
yeah, kind of, yeah. And it wasn't done by like any type of scientist, I believe.
No.
It was just like some random person just
Yeah.
like looking through data and trying to figure it out. So
Trying to make a story.
I guess we'll recap this one too, just for fun. All right, so today we're talking about this article that came out that had these insanely high risks of complications for plastic surgeries. I looked through them, and this study is not like a real medical study. I think it was just some journalists like looking at some data and trying to come up with something. So we kind of went through them on the show and talked about each one. But yeah, if you see articles out there talking about really high risks of plastic surgery, they shouldn't be. If you get a very skilled surgeon that's doing your surgery, their complication rate should be very low, and they should tell you what their complications rates are. They should go over it and tell you what's most common and what they see. So, I mean, with anything elective surgery, I mean, you want to be safe and not do something that's dangerous, but in this day and age with skilled surgeons, it is pretty safe. So don't be scared out there, folks. All right.